We're not first. By that, I mean we're not the first attempt at human life. At least that's what I'm figuring out. If you're going to listen to my theory though, you're going to have to hear the backstory. My name is Alex, I'm 30, homeless, and scraping by on the streets of New York City. Despite what you might think, I'm in my right mind and have others to back up what happened, or at least some of it. A few others and I were heading to a nearby soup kitchen, hoping for a warm meal. I hadn't had real food, just scraps, in 3 days, but that was the least of my concerns after this morning. We were on our way, about to cross the street when a car came speeding through, whipping around another at the stoplight. I'm not really sure why I reacted the way I did. There was a girl in front of me that I just met, Lily. She was younger, down on her luck, but a really talented artist. She just needed to find some stability, you know? That's hard these days. The car was heading straight for her in the crosswalk, with no way it was going to slow down. I just jumped forward, pushing her out of the way and taking the full force of the car myself. At least, I should have felt the full force. Instead, it just kind of knocked me back onto the pavement. It still hurt, but more like when you run into a pole or something when you're not paying attention. Here I thought it must have stopped or slammed on the brakes, except when I finally opened my eyes and overcame the daze of the hit, the street was suddenly empty. I mean totally empty. Not a single person, vehicle, or even animal in sight. There are usually pigeons everywhere in this city, yet at this moment, everything was silent and still. Then the humming started. It was low, reminding me of the old, giant TV that my grandma kept in her living room. That sound of low, static humming when a channel was on with nothing to watch. Eventually, I picked myself up, not quite sure how long I was laying there. Opening my eyes made me think I was officially dead or had some major brain damage. I'm going to describe it as best I can, but bear with me if it sounds a little odd. Everything was the same, geography-wise, with the familiar layout of the city I grew up in, except it was, I don't know, low-res. It reminded me of when I messed up a video game and glitched everything else out. The empty world was more angled than real life, with fewer curves and more edges on everything. It wasn't until trying to get up that I started to really feel the ground under me. It was smooth, with a slight static just breaths away from the surface. The asphalt looked as if it was painted on, giving the appearance of poured concrete. In reality, it just felt like a smooth, marble surface. Cool to the touch, too. As I stood, the rest of the world came into focus, and I could see the buildings looked much the same. Windows and doors as if they were crudely textured over. Everything reminded me of an old video game. Looking around, but how the heck I was inside it, I don't know. The sky above looked fake too, with clouds painted on with angled powers. Just looking up started to make my head spin. After a few minutes of gathering myself, I started moving down the street, trying to figure out what this place was. The streets were still empty, with not even a breeze moving the still air. When I walked up to one of the windows, a blurred display with a sign that said pizza with pictures of pizza that made bad internet photos look good. There was nothing I could see through the windows. Heck, it was like just solid color, painted like glass to give the appearance of a front. Might as well have been a cardboard cutout. Hello? A voice shouted from around the corner. It froze me at first, realizing I wasn't as alone as I believed. I had to find a way out of here though. Maybe they knew something? I don't know. It's not the least rational thing about today. Because when I finally reached the intersection and got a clear view around me, unobstructed by the tall buildings, I almost lost my mind. The World Trade Center was standing tall against the sky. Not with much detail on it, but the Twin Towers were punching into the sky for the first time since I was a kid. The world grew louder, my mind racing trying to just find some comprehension of what I was seeing. I just wanted to get a hot meal and now I'm in pre-YDK hell. With no idea how to get out of this place. I almost gave up at this point because everything was so overwhelming. Then the voice came again, a small hello, this time from behind me. Everything in my body screamed not to turn. Don't look. Don't face whatever nightmare was probably right behind me. Despite it all, I still looked. A kid was walking toward me, maybe a couple blocks down. This time though they gave a much louder hello. This is on me, not going to lie. I grew up homeless for a lot of my childhood, so I've got a soft spot for kids who need help. That was almost the end of me. Hey, are you okay? I shouted down the street. The child only gave another hello in return, nothing else. They were moving toward me still, but the light didn't let me make out any features. Cautiously, I started walking to meet them. They repeated hello again, this time louder. It wasn't until I got closer that I noticed the humming growing louder, static cutting through the silence. HHHHLO, it said again, this time stuttering it out, resetting to the beginning every time. When it came into view, I took a step back, realizing I made a huge mistake. The smiling, cheery face looked pasted onto the angular head. Their shoulders and arms were oddly sharp, just floating at the side without movement. Legs were moving, but not actually touching the ground. This thing was gliding like a ghost, closer and closer to me. Features grew more clear as it got closer. The smile was too wide for the face, stretching ear to ear, showing far too many teeth. Empty eye stared forward, crudely drawn onto the skull. I honestly don't know if it could see me, but it felt like it wanted me. It started glitching harder, the words stacking on top of each other without getting out the first word. In only a few feet it became one long sound, a scream of technology gone wrong. It got overwhelming, causing me to fall to my knees in the middle of the street. Gliding ever closer, the figure was now bending, contorting, and stretching itself in every direction. There was a singularity in the middle, with every fiber of the thing screaming, trying to escape it. I could see the ground around it beginning to pixelate, popping in and out of existence. Once the stretching got to its face, everything went to hell. The sound grew even louder, more static and loud, mechanical errors deafening me. Static charge filled the air, crackling around as the hair on my arms raised. I was being electrified, growing more intense as the glitch grew closer. It wasn't like being tased yet, but I could feel it ramping up. Pretty sure I started screaming, which may have been what saved me. Whatever power was in this messed up digital prison must have taken pity on me. I felt something grab me by my shirt collar, stretching the fabric as it did. That was it. I thought I was going to die. This thing was trying to eat me and I would die here, forgotten on the streets just like in the real world. You can stop screaming now, a voice said, pulling me along the road toward one of the storefronts. The contorted glitch of a person was still following behind us, but at a much slower pace now. Looking up, there was a person in a sloth mask pulling me by my shirt collar. Anyway, bye. Try not to come back. Without a second thought, he threw me into one of the painted doorways with ridiculous strength. Bracing myself for the impact of a wall, I instead stumbled out, the heat of the city streets hitting me like an inferno. People were bustling around, bumping into me and going about their day. I was back in the real world, just down the street from where I was when everything started. Cop cars were down the road near where I got hit, as well as an ambulance. When I walked up, I couldn't even say anything. Lily was standing there crying by the ambulance, a large scrape going down her forearm. Seeing me must have made her think she was being haunted, because she started to point at me, crying too much to get anything out. Talking to the others that were with me, I'm still not sure what happened. Everyone says they saw me push Lily, the car made contact, then I was just gone. An hour passed and everyone thought I was still on the grill of that car, being taken along on a high-speed chase. They still haven't even caught the driver, apparently. I'm tired. Everything is still blurry. I feel like I saw something I wasn't supposed to, like something taboo and ancient. Even though the look of it was relatively recent, it just felt old. There was something there that wasn't right. Not to mention whoever rescued me. God, I have a